What's up, fam? Welcome back to a very special edition of Radical Health Radio. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you should be, you will see that my studio is looking quite different today. You might hear the waves lapping behind me. You might see these beautiful palm trees drifting in the breeze. Why? Because today's episode was shot from Mexico on the last day of our Heart and Soil tribe trip. And my guest today is a few members of this very special team. This team is filled with wonderful individuals with incredible insights that are going to come and tell you what they do inside of the company, their animal-based story journey, the tidbits of wisdom of what they've learned through their combined decades of experience of living this lifestyle. And we have some fun because the previous guest leaves a surprise question for the next guest. So we've been out here in Mexico bonding, workshopping, brainstorming how we are going to continue spreading this message of Radical Health Radio, and we're summarizing it with an incredible fun chat for all of you today. Tune in. There's a surprise at the end, so stay to learn how you might be able to win one of our surprise packages as well. And without further ado, let's get into this very special edition of Radical Health Radio Mexico version. Kicking this thing off, Johnny Lawler, first one in the hot seat. Tell us who you are and what you do at Heart and Soil.
My name is Jonathan Lawler, and I'm a research analyst at Heart and Soil. So we do everything from helping develop new products to determining, what's fact from fiction in the health world, and kind of just making sure Heart and Soil stays a thought leader in this space.
Amazing. You're the brains behind the madness.
Sure.
What is, how'd you get here? What got you interested in all this? What's your animal-based story, if you will?
Man, it's a long one, but I'll try and shorten it. I basically had some health problems throughout my life that doctors couldn't really touch. They said I looked fine. I was a young man. I looked healthy, but inside I felt like just absolutely awful. I had horrible brain fog, could not focus. My body felt inflamed, and looking around, comparing myself to my peers, I felt as if I could not kind of stack up to them. Like they're partying, they're going out, they're staying up late, and if I did that, I would just it would absolutely wreck me. So I knew something was off, and I knew that modern medicine was not giving me the answers or any sort of direction, and so I had to kind of find that direction for myself. I ended up doing a 5-day water fast, and at the end of that fast, all of my symptoms had disappeared.
Wow.
And I knew that I made that mental connection that something I'm putting in my body is causing most of these problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down a bunch of rabbit holes, Weston A. Price Foundation, of course found Paul Saladino. And during that time I was studying medicine and science, and I decided to shift my gears to focusing more on this holistic alternative side and using those basic biochemical knowledge skills and applying that to this new area, new and old area of health.
Right. Merging the lost wisdom with the new scientific techniques that we have. You're a guy that thinks a lot about this stuff. I know we've had many conversations off air. You live and breathe it, and you've traversed a lot of different thought schools, even experimenting with things like a raw food only diet, like you said, Weston A. Price, animal-based, carnivore, everything in between. So with all of that experience comes a certain amount of wisdom. I would ask you what your gold nugget of wisdom would be that you know now that maybe you wish you'd have known when you were just getting started on this journey.
Man, I mean, there's so many things I could say. Probably the one that I think that would have the most impact for people is just to kind of wake up to the fact that what you eat becomes you.
Yeah.
I don't think and I'll put it on myself. Growing up, food was just this thing that turned off the hunger signal.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, cool, I'm hungry, I need to eat something. It didn't matter where I got the food, it didn't matter who prepared it, how many ingredients it had. If it filled me up, perfect. If it tasted good, even better. And it wasn't until very late in life that I realized, wow, with this plethora of options of food, you have good options and not so good options. And, you are physical matter. And when you eat food, that has to replenish that physical matter. And so I really think zeroing in on just that idea of what you're putting in your body becomes you in more ways than in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be something for most people to kind of zero in on.
Yeah. There's that idea that you are what you eat, right? And we throw that around a lot. But until you feel it,
yeah.
you kind of like, oh, really? We are what we eat. Like feeling is believing. What do you guide people towards when they're on the precipice of thinking about this and maybe changing something? Where do you see the biggest bang for your buck? Is it eliminating ultra-processed foods? Is it adding in organ meats? Is it focusing on something? Like, if you could pick maybe one of the bigger rocks to stack, where would you start for people?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good answers. For me, the easiest one is just getting rid of seed oils. And the reason I say that is because you will almost certainly feel better. But I know for a fact, if you're eating a lot of seed oils, you're going to look better as soon as you cut them out.
Yeah. Working
one-on-one with clients, the amount of weight that they would lose in 2 weeks of cutting out seed oils. And it's not fat. It's some mixture of water retention and inflammation.
Right?
And their face slims down and they're like, oh my God. And like, you know, it's funny. You can travel the world and see all these people and they look like normal humans. And you come to America and we have this puffy look.
Puffy, yeah.
You know, and maybe it's not just the seed oils, but man, when you take them out, you really start to look different. And that's important for me because, well, it's important for everyone. When you see that something that you did changed the way that you look, that creates that first mental connection of like, wow, I have agency and I can change how I look, how I feel, and I wonder what else there is.
Yeah, it's really empowering, right, to realize that inputs actually create outputs. And when you realize something like that with your food, you start to broaden the horizons of like, what else could I change? What other variable could I change and how that might impact my life? What are you currently the most into? What's your thing right now?
Man, you know, it's kind of funny. The thing I'm most into right now is actually movement. You know, nutrition-wise, I'm still experimenting with the raw stuff, but I've reached a part of my health journey where I feel like I understand a lot of the nutritional basic principles, and I'm still experimenting here and there. We were just joking this morning about only eating fruit till noon, just testing it out. But, you know, I think just like food, you can eat junk food, you can adapt junk posture.
You
know, you can have
junk movement, everything, right?
Exactly. And so this feels like something I've neglected, and it's exciting to sink my teeth into something that feels almost new again. Have that beginner mindset and kind of go through the ropes.
And I could tell the listener, Johnny is applying. He's walking the walk because we sparred here yesterday on this very spot. We put the boxing gloves on. We moved, a new thing you haven't done. You were uncomfortable, but by the end of it was finding a bit more comfort. And friends, we beat the crap out of each other for a few minutes and had a good time afterwards. So movement is life. All right, in this episode, we're doing something special where the person before you leaves a question for you to answer.
Yes.
Obviously, there was nobody before you because you were first, but
Correct.
Producer Matt gave you the question. He asked, from a health perspective, where do you think might be the best place to live in the world?
Ooh. I have an answer. I have the answer.
The answer, wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a very special place in Nicaragua called Ometepe. And I hope everyone goes there. It is a double volcano island in the middle of one of the biggest lakes in the world in Nicaragua. You're getting a beautiful amount of UV. You're getting this very special grounding in that volcanic sand water. You're getting the electromagnetic currents from the magma flow, and it's one of the more lower EMF places in the world. There's fresh fruit, there's good vibes. If I had all the money in the world right now, I would build a big mansion in Ometepe, Nicaragua.
Ometepe, Nicaragua. You heard it here first. Johnny Lawler, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, bro.
Peace out. Jennifer Redding, welcome to Radical Health Radio. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do at Heart and Soil.
Yeah, so my name is Jennifer Redding. I work at Heart and Soil. I've only been there probably now about 3 months. And I'm a researcher, so help understand the supplements, what's in them, what are we doing with them, so forth.
Why is this position something that you were looking for? Because I know you were very psyched. Tell me a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, so, you know, after going through my own health journey, originally it started about me and wanting to know more about what happened with me and why I was going through that. But, you know, somewhere along the line, I really wanted to know more and kind of dig deeper than that. So I went back for my master's, investigated more there, you know, watched my family go through their own health journey, and eventually jumped into my PhD. And, you know, after being there, I saw kind of a little bit about the atmosphere, how research was conducted. I wasn't extremely psyched about it, and I wanted something that I could take what we're learning and be able to give it to people, and give it to people every day that they could apply to their lives. And so after doing that, you know, I had heard of Heart and Soil, and I knew about them, and I reached out and just told them that I really want to be in research, and I really want to bring this to a product and allow it to benefit people.
It's amazing. Were you doing something like an animal-based diet then through your own inquiry? Did you stumble upon something like this framework that helped you with your health struggles?
Yeah, when I originally was, you know, diagnosed with my condition,
What was your condition?
UC.
Okay, ulcerative colitis.
Ulcerative colitis,
okay.
yeah.
It's pretty gnarly, right?
Yeah, you know, I originally had it happen. It kind of came as a surprise. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was healthy. I was an athlete. You know, I always played sports. So it was really surprising to me. And I met a woman who kind of opened my eyes about nutrition. And she was great too, because when I was going through my UC journey, I had a doctor tell me no food or diet could ever get you in or out of remission.
Wow.
And he would repeat that, you know, every time I went in. And so this woman kind of taught me about, you know, health and diet. And one of the first few things we changed was a lot of meat, a lot of real foods, a lot of fruits, bioavailable, you know, nutrients. And I mean, within a month, I felt night and day difference, and eventually got off medication and realized I didn't need it.
Heck yeah, that's so cool. So what, knowing what you know now, and thinking back to yourself that thought you were doing all the right things, it turns out that were maybe some of the wrong things.
Yeah.
What's a little bit of radical wisdom that you would drop on your former self that you wish you'd have known when you got started?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of twofold. You know, I think a lot of my stress was a big one. You know, I was very hard on myself in school and in sports, and I always wanted to be the best. And I think that took a toll on me a little bit, but I think a lot of it too was digging deeper than the surface. You know, I would buy, you know, foods that I thought were healthy, or I was told that were healthy. And I wish I questioned it a little bit more, asked some of these questions, and didn't just go with what I was told was good. And, you know, even now today, some of it is to, you know, not getting as obsessive about it, to having a bit more of a balanced life. And even now I'm still learning that. We talked about that the other day, about being able to enjoy life and friends and family.
I think that's very underrated. I'm glad you said that, because it's easy to always focus on like what you should or should not eat, but just the psychological stress level is really big, and I think it impacts more people than they realize.
It does.
And we talked about yesterday, you know, the unhealthy obsession with health, like maybe being too micromanagey, too stressed out about whatever it is, and that has consequences too.
Yeah.
Like the stress of trying to be perfect is often more harmful than the imperfections are if you become neurotic about it.
It becomes a full-time job, and you almost forget why you're doing it in the first place. We're doing this because we want to live, and we want to be healthy, and we want to enjoy life, not so it becomes, you know, a task.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it should be giving you life, not taking it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. 1 second. Okay. What currently is the thing that you are the most interested in? What are you diving into right now? What are you learning? Or what are you passionate about again?
Yeah, so, well, research-wise, I'm really interested in mold. We kind of talked about that the other day. I found out, you know, some of, you know, maybe the root of some of the things I'm dealing with had a lot to do with mold. And so, in that aspect, I'm, you know, been really trying to understand more about that, and, you know, how that affects us. How do we even, why is some people so, you know, easily get mold exposure and, you know, so detrimental? But on a personal level, you know, I just moved to Austin. And so, you know, really building connections and, you know, going to different events, concerts, something I didn't do like all the time back home in Colorado. And trying to just be social.
Love it. Austin is the place to be. There's a lot of cool weirdos out in there. So keep Austin weird. You landed in a good spot. Cool. So as you know, you get a question from the previous guest. This one was dropped into your lap from your teammate, Mr. Jonathan from the research team. And he wanted to know either a funny or embarrassing story that you might have.
Oh no, funny or
Putting you on the
embarrassing
spot, I know.
Is it me?
Yeah. Or him. You could throw
I should probably tell my interview.
Okay.
You probably heard this story, but Dylan, when he first interviewed me for Heart and Soil, when I got on the camera to jump into my interview, I was nervous, wanted to impress him. And I got on and he was stone cold when I got on, and I had no idea. I thought it was a test. He first asked me, how's it going? What do you want to talk about today? You conducted this meeting. And so I got really confused. Started to think, he's trying to trick me. This is some sort of Heart and Soil test thing here. I need to roll with it.
Yeah.
And so as we went through it, I just had to look at him and say, I have no idea what's going on. And so then it clicked to him. And then I think that kind of made him remember me as a candidate.
Amazing.
And so I was embarrassed for the first 10 minutes because I thought, I messed up this interview. I don't even know who this person is. He connected me with the wrong person. I'm not even supposed to be here. Maybe I'm not the right candidate.
Wow.
So.
But it all worked out and you're here.
Yeah.
And like you said, what did you say, about 2 months in, 3 months in?
Yeah, I started in December.
Okay.
So yeah, not that
Well,
long.
it seems like you are right at home. You're
Yeah.
fitting in amazing. I've had a ton of good conversations with you already, and I know everybody appreciates your insight and your research mind. So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me. Next in the hot seat is my man, Zack, colloquially known as Z-Pav on the Heart and Soil grounds. Zack, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do at Heart and Soil.
Cool. Yes, I am Zack, and I am one of the health guides on the team. Essentially what I do is I correspond with our customers or people who are kind of interested in either our supplements or the animal-based diets or just improving their health in general. And I help them do that. I help them pick the right supplements if that's what the right move is for them, or I help them, improve their diet, their lifestyle, educate them about, different things that can change about their diet or their environment to improve their health.
Yeah, dope. All of our members, especially the community members or the people that have been on our calls, will know Zack for his wealth and encyclopedic knowledge on all things holistic health too, not just diet, but you're constantly experimenting. What got you into this? Why did you come to get interested in this whole diet realm in the first place?
Yeah, probably like a lot of us, I was dealing with a lot of health issues. So I was diagnosed with IBS probably like 8 years ago.
Okay.
And really just dealt with it. And then I tried different diets. I tried going, paleo and then vegan and then keto and then carnivore.
Oh, you went the whole pipeline.
Yeah. And so carnivore helped a lot. It took away my symptoms just because I was so sensitive. The main symptom I was dealing with was like visceral hypersensitivity. So I would just eat almost anything and I'd just be in pain for days.
Wow.
And so carnivore helped just because it took out, so many factors. Took out all the fiber and all the phytoalexins and stuff like that. And of course, I was following people like Paul and, Sean Baker and people like that.
Yeah.
And, I really thought that carnivore was the way, but then I kind of realized that, I wasn't actually healing myself with this carnivore diet. I was only avoiding symptoms.
Yeah.
And so in that time, I started working for Heart and Soil. Basically, Paul had put on his social media, he announced that he was going to start a company in Austin. I was like, I live in Austin. And at the time, I was kind of getting ready to start like a carnivore coaching business.
Wow.
And anyway, so I put together a meetup and I invited Paul and the team and I met them and basically just asked Paul, I'm like, hey, can I work for you? And
Heck yeah.
He's like, sure. And so started working with Heart and Soil then. And
So that was pretty much day one. You've been here since pretty much the beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
What's it been like compared to then? What was that, 2020?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
To now? Like what's it been like to watch the growth and the change, the size of the team, everything?
Yeah, no, it's been really cool. It started out with just like 5 people.
Right.
And it was
bootstrapping
just, very ragtag and just everyone had like like 2 or 3 different roles.
What were you doing in the early days?
I was doing shipping
Okay.
and helping like Paul with some social media stuff.
Right on.
And then moved into emails pretty quickly after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, so like you said, you went down the classic rabbit hole, ended up at carnivore, the ultimate elimination diet, if you will, and that was helpful in certain ways because it removed but it wasn't really getting to that root cause centric. And you've come like really full circle now, like your big thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're like, know a lot about this pro-metabolic approach, diving into the work of Peat and things like that.
Yeah.
You've got some really interesting takes as a recovering carnivore, if you will, on things like carbohydrates being really important and not fearing sugar so much. Tell me a little bit about that, because I always thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, carnivore wasn't healing me. And then, Paul shifted from carnivore to animal-based, and I was like, oh, I'll try that too. And I was like, okay, I feel good with, a lot of these fruits. And then a friend of mine introduced me to like Peat's work. And, for those who don't know, Peat, it's more complicated than this, but it's like he's a proponent of sugar and a high carbohydrate diet, moderate fat, moderate protein. Anyway, I started like trying out these ideas of like, okay, let me increase my carbohydrates, and what I came to learn is like it is difficult to heal a lot of different health situations if your cellular energy production is not optimized. Now, a lot of people end up doing a low carb diet and they feel a lot better, and that's great. That's a great like starting place at the very least. But the low carb diet doesn't actually address the underlying issue, which is impaired glucose metabolism. Like you can't metabolize carbohydrates well, so you're gonna feel better if you take them out of the picture, especially if you're eating a lot of nutrient-rich foods like meat and organs. But you're not actually healing the main issue. And basically, really gradually but surely increasing your carbohydrate intake can really support that. And there's other things that a lot of people will need to employ to heal their ability to metabolize carbohydrates well. But like a big component of that is increasing your carbohydrate intake. And that's obviously best done through things like fruit and honey, but starches are great too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fix the engine, right?
Yeah,
I heard someone say recently that like if you blame sugar because it makes you crash or whatever, like it's like high octane fuel and you're blaming the fuel instead of the engine.
Yep.
If you fix the engine, then you can have the high octane fuel. And we're not talking about high fructose corn syrup and stuff. We're talking about more natural sugars, right? Honey and fruit and those kinds of things.
Big orange juice guy here.
Big orange juice guy. I've seen it in the flesh.
Yeah.
Gallons, my man.
Yeah, and I guess just to finish my story, like I said before, carnivore helped me feel better, but it didn't cure the problem. I still had a lot of food sensitivities. But then when I started to, employ some of these, like, I guess, PT ideas, my hypersensitivity slowly went away, and now I can tolerate anything.
Yeah.
My digestion is just so much better.
Yeah.
And it was really, I couldn't have done it without introducing like these carbohydrates, because it supports that cellular energy production when things are not, when your cells aren't producing energy adequately. Your body doesn't have excess energy to heal. And that's in a nutshell how that works, I guess.
So what might you say to somebody that maybe is in a similar spot that you've been in the past, and they went down this pipeline, they're carnivore right now, it got them to a certain point where they're ready to take the next step, but maybe they're still a little bit fearful of the whole, like, carbs are going to make you fat. Like, you've probably been there. Like, what did you have to do either mentally or strategically to just get over that and get to a point now where you can have more balanced macros?
And I was definitely there. Like, I remember as soon as I saw Paul introducing carbs, I was like scared to eat strawberries, but then just listening to him talk, and then eventually being introduced to like Pete's ideas, like, I was like, okay, I guess it's not that scary. And I guess there's more to the story than what I'm hearing from, these low carb proponents out there. So just like hearing people explain like the science behind, it's really not the carbs that are causing the issue. I was like, okay, I don't need to be so scared. And so I would just like gradually increase it. And like, I wasn't like even, doing it gradually for any reason other than it was like kind of foreign to me to eat carbohydrates. But that is really the best way to do it. That's what I tell people I work with who want to try increasing their carbs. Like, hey, start small. Yeah. And then, other things, I have them track their metabolism, and that kind of works hand in hand with the gradual reintroduction of carbohydrates.
Beautiful. Okay, so you're obviously always running a little experiment. Every time I talk to you, you're trying with something like tracking your metabolism, those kinds of things. What's the thing that you're currently running? What's the N of 1 experiment that you're currently diving into or thinking about?
Yeah, well, okay, I guess most recently I am experimenting with B vitamins, like niacinamide, which is a form of vitamin B3, and B1 as well, so thiamine. They say these nutrients are necessary for carbohydrate metabolism, and metabolism in general, actually. So just trying to see if I can feel even better.
Cool.
Specifically, and then I'm also trying supplemental lithium, just like elemental lithium. And the idea there is I'm trying to see if I can improve my ability to focus, because just writing a lot of emails.
It's a big skill in today's modern world. There's a lot of distraction. You can focus. You've got a superpower.
Yeah, because I mean, when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADD and just had a hard time in school, and improving my diet really helped with that. But I think like there's a little bit more room for growth, so I'm trying that out, and so far so good.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, Jennifer left you the question, and I'm after going to play an audible a little bit, because her original question was, how has your perception of Heart and Soil changed once you got involved with the company? But you've been a little bit from day one, so you didn't have the like, I was a fan of Heart and Soil, and then I got inside, and my perception changed. So maybe we'll flip it and say, like, what do you think the overall perception of people is of Heart and Soil from the outside looking in that might surprise them if they were on the inside?
Oh man, that's a good question. Well, I feel like we're pretty true. Like, I don't know. We're even more fun than you might think.
We're fun. Yeah, we're not so stiff.
Yeah.
We're a fun group.
Yeah.
We've seen that firsthand this week, which is pretty cool.
And this is like, I guess this sort of answers the question, but just what came to mind was like, we really love to live this lifestyle of eating healthy, being in the sun, working out, all the things, right? But as and this is true for me and true for a lot of people I work with too, is like, as you get healthier, you don't need to be so, meticulous and so strict about everything. And that's a good thing, like.
Feels very freeing.
Yeah, to be able to just like, take your wife out to dinner and not have to freak out too much. Of course, we're like, hey, if you can make this without seed oils, that would be awesome. But I used to be so fearful because I was in such a state. But it's like, as you like really commit to the lifestyle, and I think be surrounded by people who are doing the same thing, you don't have to be so fearful, and you can just be more flexible with
very
things.
Important, man.
Because that's I know you asked this question to some of the other people, but the thing that I've been really thinking about lately is just how like our thoughts and our beliefs and our emotions really affect our health and affect the trajectory of our healing. It's a big process. And when people are in this like on a healing journey, it can just be, you think that you got to do everything right in order to heal. But maybe the most important thing to get right is like have hope that you are going to heal. So I've been really thinking about that lately.
Beautifully said, man. Well, I know I kind of see you as like an army scout. Like back in the day, they'd have the scouts that run across the minefields, go looking over, just like seeing what's going on. You're our scout. You go out there, you run around, you find the crazy things, you run the experiment on yourself, and then you come back with all the details so we can try it as well. So we all appreciate your wonderfully inquisitive mind, and thanks for joining me, bro.
Of course.
Boom. Kelly, my community partner in crime. Tell us, firstly, who you are, what you do at Heart and Soil.
I am the community manager. So what I basically do is for all of our customers or members or people interested in the animal-based diet, we have an online community where members can come together, ask questions, get access to our health guides, do challenges that you're a part of quite often. We do some webinars. We just have a lot of fun in the community, and so I manage that space, make sure all the pieces are right, the schedule's on cue, and so that's kind of my big role there.
Kelly looks after us. If you're not in the community, get in the community. Okay, get in the community. When you were being hired, I was very excited because I needed you to be able to chaperone all the things we want to do inside the community, and I saw on your intake form that you had this handle, the buttered dietitian. And I was like, I like this lady already.
Yeah.
How did you become the buttered dietitian, or like what's your backstory a little bit? How'd you get here?
Yeah. So to condense it all, my background is I am a dietitian. And I went into college being super interested in nutrition, and that came from a place, I was thinking about why, like what was my intention in wanting to be a dietitian? And it was, do you know that quote where it's like we teach what we ourselves need to learn?
Need to learn, yes.
And so growing up, I was a 90s baby, and so by the time I was a teenager, I grew up in the magazine era. Like that's where I was learning my health information, and it was a lot about like low-fat diets and calorie restriction and things like that. Skinny.
Yeah.
And so I went into college almost seeking to understand it more, so that my information wasn't coming from just like a magazine. And so anyways, so became a dietitian, and of course, learned a lot. It gave me a really good foundation, but with dietitians being trained as they are, my education still didn't give me exactly what I wanted. And that sent me down kind of a decade-long journey of kind of seeking out like what is optimal health and nutrition that I wasn't finding for myself, because I had a lot of health issues start in college, namely IBS, some hormonal issues, PCOS.
Right.
And so, and I was like the unhealthiest healthy person I knew, because I was doing everything right. I was this picture perfect dietitian, and yet I wasn't feeling good. And so, so I went on both extremes. I tried conventional, and I have a deep respect for conventional medicine, just because that's where a lot of my family, I have a lot of doctors and nurses in my family, but that wasn't really helping me. And so then I went really functional, and that felt a little extreme. But anyways, long story short is that I ended up finding animal-based just through social media, as many of us did. And it was one of those feelings of knowing like, I need to try this. Like, I don't know why, but I have like an inner knowing, because before that I was vegetarian and really plant heavy, and I was like, well, this isn't working, so maybe I'll just flip it on its head and try the opposite way. And it was pretty cool how radically quick like the benefits started to show. And it just it was night and day. And that's when I found it through Dr. Paul Saladino, and then found his company Heart and Soil. And I remember I still have the diary entry, and I wrote in my diary about 2.5 years ago, like, I'm going to work for Heart and Soil one day.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because they changed my life, and I just want to be a part of that mission, and I want to help other people who are like me, and hopefully save them a decade worth of journey.
So good.
Just by handing them, what could be a way simpler solution than what I was making it out to be.
Oh, that is so good. I love that. I mean, it resonates for me a lot. I've said this on the podcast before, that back in the day when I was, like you said, doing everything right, I used to say jokingly I was a dietitian's wet dream. Like, I was doing everything right, but I wasn't feeling right. And we have a couple of people before you say the same thing. Like, I was doing everything right, but it wasn't working out. So from that perspective now, like, because you had that training, what's like a little spicy take that you might have for like, what's the biggest RD registered dietitian rule you think people maybe should be breaking? What are they getting wrong, the RDs of the world?
Well, definitely the low fat is still very much a notion that dietitians will tell people of, like, choose skim milk, or choose like low fat cheese, or just that whole like perspective I greatly disagree with, as well as fiber. I've come a long way with fiber. I think fiber is very pushed by dietitians as like the holy grail of nutrition. I think there's definitely a place for it, and it's a really interesting component of our health and nutrition. But I don't know, I've come to have, I think that it's very individual of how much fiber someone needs and can tolerate.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't think you need loads of it to be the healthiest person, whereas dietitians, they love their fiber.
They do. They love it. They love it. Okay, so you said you're about a decade in of being on a constant evolving journey of searching for your health. 10 years ago when you're just getting started, what's the one piece of advice or the little golden nugget you just wish you'd have known back then that you think would have maybe got you where you are quicker?
I think that it would probably be, and this is funny coming from not only a dietitian, but also working for Heart and Soil. We promote an animal-based diet, but it's not all about diet. And actually I find that as I get more and more into this journey, and since I've started working for Heart and Soil, like, diet's kind of gone down a little bit in terms of like priority, and things like sleep hygiene and light environment, and even just leaning into play and just the other aspects of health. I think I just completely ignored that, being like, oh, I'll get there once I figure out the perfect diet.
Yeah, right.
And once I have that aligned, then I can put those pieces. Whereas now, yeah, I realize just how important those areas are so much more.
It's amazing. It's so true. We've heard it from a few people here today. Like, it's not to say that we're throwing the diet rule book out the window. We're still really dialed, but I think it's just like having a little freedom with that, a little more flex to understand that diet is an important part of your health, but it's a lot bigger than that when we zoom out a little bit. So maybe this brings me to the next question. Like, what are you currently interested in or excited about or passionate about from a health perspective?
From a health perspective, I think a lot of conversations I've been having lately is kind of leaning into our natural like cues. And what I mean by that is like our natural hunger cues or natural fullness cues. Being a dietitian, I've had so many people in my life ask me like, how many macros, how much calories in a day? Like, people really want set numbers, and people have lost a lot of trust in their body. And I feel like for myself personally, as well as in conversations, I've been really enjoying just having that notion of just like learning to trust your body again, and that it's going to tell you what it needs, and you don't need to be so regimented about like certain things. And I think it goes kind of to the primal perspective of like, some days you would eat a ton and you'd be in the sun and be really super active, and then some days you'd probably be a little less hungry, and like kind of just having a little bit more of that freeness. I don't know, that's been really exciting me, of just like
the body knows, right?
Yeah.
The body knows something. One of my favorite lessons that was ever taught to me is don't ignore when the body speaks for what the mind thinks.
I love that.
You can think our way into an awful lot of trouble, but like you said, when you just kind of trust in this relationship, and you have to work on it. It is a relationship, right? You can't tell someone that's never done any of this kind of thing, oh, just listen to your intuition, because their intuition might guide them to eat 2 pints of ice cream every night. So there is a balance there, but I think you're really onto something. I was laughing the other day, we were doing the human knot game, and everyone's trying to be very instructional, and you're like, just feel it, just follow your heart. I was like, there you go, you're tapping in. So that's awesome.
I'm very feeling focused.
Okay, amazing. So your question, which was left by Zpav, is, do you know any magic tricks?
Ooh. I mean, twist my arm.
Kelly's our resident magician at Heart and Soil, multi-skilled and multifaceted. Are you going to do a magic trick live right now? Let's go.
I mean, if the crowd wants it.
The crowd wants it.
I think the quickest one, podcast friendly though, I would need, does anyone have a pen and paper?
All right, we're back in action. We got a live magic trick. This is why you should watch on YouTube too. Don't just listen on Spotify. You're going to miss the magic, literally. Get on YouTube. Look at this. It's crazy. Let's go. What are we doing?
This will be really embarrassing if I mess this up. Guess that's what editing's for. All right, this is simple, easy, won't make it complicated. What I want you to do is I want you to cut anywhere in the deck and just like set it to the side. Just like that. Okay. Make a little marker right there. Will you put your finger just to hold it so that it doesn't move? Okay, so Steve cut to his choosing of where he wanted to in the deck, and I am going to predict where you just cut to. You saw me shuffle them.
Yeah.
A few times. Okay. You want to bet?
I will bet you a fresh coconut that you can't get it.
Okay, why don't you go show the camera? If you show the camera.
You're going to hold those. Mm-hmm. Okay. What I'm seeing here is Ace of Diamonds. Okay, Ace of Diamonds. She didn't do anything behind my back, right?
And this is where he cut to. Let's see it. What does that say?
Ace of Diamonds. God damn. You wizard.
Wizard.
She's a wizard.
And that's why I got hired at Heart and Soil.
Thank you, Kelly.
That trick.
Mr. Grayson Nichols, our people's person. Tell the audience who you are, what you do at Heart and Soil.
Yeah, so my name is Grayson Nichols. I am People and Talent at Heart and Soil. So, as Steve so eloquently said, the people's guy. I've been at Heart and Soil for about a year, about the same time as Carson over there behind the camera. And I have a very long and drawn out path to get here. I've been animal based for about 4 years. Found Paul around that same time, and we were doing a short stint in Florida and spending a lot of time in the sun. And I started seeing all of Paul Saladino's like, hey, it was bullshit videos, and I was like, you know what, I eat pretty good, but I wonder if I could eat better. And so I swapped out seed oils, which I didn't even realize I was eating so much of.
Yeah.
Started incorporating more red meat, fruit, things like that. Pretty immediately stopped getting sunburned, which was like the first thing. Endurance went up, lost about 15 pounds of fat in about 3 months. So
Wow.
just dropped it all. Fast forward 3 years after that, so about a year and a half ago, I was looking for a new job, and I was in HR, doing sort of what I'm doing now, but for a company that had been around a little bit longer. There wasn't a lot of change happening. I was ready for something new. I was ready to join a more growing company, youthful company, and I'd been taking Heart and Soil's supplements for 3 years and was loving it. So I went to the pop-up at Zeke in Austin, which unfortunately no longer exists, but met a couple of the people there, got connected. They had an opening, and now we're here. So
the rest is unfolding history.
Yes.
I can imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're going to get into human resources or that line of work, and now the title being people and talent, it must be pretty cool to oversee so much talent and so many cool people, because there genuinely is a boatload of cool people at Heart and Soil. So when you were thinking about a potential future in human stuff, could you ever envision something like Heart and Soil?
It's funny that you say that, because like the world of HR does not really, you don't think of someone like being out on the front lines like this, getting to be outside a lot. It's, think of a guy in a cubicle doing paperwork all day, dealing with insurance, payroll, things like that. And that's what I went to college for. But I really wanted to find a way to bridge it with my love for being outside, for eating right, feeling awesome. But I didn't want to be inside all day. And it just so happened that Heart and Soil exists. I applied, I got it, and it has far exceeded what I thought was possible. It bridged everything that I wanted. I get to have a workout in the middle of the day if I want. There's raw milk there. I cook a steak every day for lunch. We got friendly ping pong competition happening all the time. But it still is a part of my job. So as I'm doing all of this with everyone, I'm learning a little bit about everybody and figuring out how to help them be the best version of them with whatever it is that they do. Whether they're in customer support, whether they're one of our ops guys. As I'm hanging out, interacting with everyone, it's cool to be able to sort of translate that into, okay, is there a need here? Is there an opportunity here to help this person improve in any way? Are they being heard with what it is that they're doing? How's their relationship with their manager or their co-workers? I'm gleaning all of this as I'm interacting with them, and it feels so natural. It's not sitting down across a desk like, hey, what are your issues? It just happens as you become close with those around you. You learn about them, what makes them tick. It's the best job in the world.
It's the best job in the world, baby.
Yeah.
And your lens is often like trying to look after people, pull out the zone of genius, and like just make sure everything is running smoothly and everybody's happy, which is great and is very needed in a team. But if you put that lens of awareness back on yourself, what have you learned about yourself by being in that role of looking after others, by being in that unique role in that position inside of Heart and Soil? Like what have you learned about you?
Yeah, it's funny. A big part of my role is supporting everyone else. So I don't often take the time to look back and say, well, how can I help myself improve? I've learned that confidence is super important. And going from a job where I was that guy kind of in the back office, not really visible to everyone, I didn't have a lot of room to exercise that muscle of making requests.
Yeah.
Work was kind of brought to me, did it on my own. But here, the buck is on me to go out and sort of seek out that information. So using a lot less passive information, which has just had kind of been my default, getting to go up to someone and really take that first step and saying like, hey, how can I help you? It's just felt so much better rather than waiting for issues or things to be brought to you.
Yeah.
Just going out and kind of seeing what kind of impact can I make today. And it's been a lot more fulfilling.
Hell yeah.
That way for me.
Yeah, proactivity always beats reactivity. You know, like live life on the front foot. Be a little bit more attacking, not so like just wait until whatever finds you.
100%.
You know, like life's unpredictable sometimes. You know, surprises and curveballs are going to be pitched, but I think we're in control of a lot more than we give ourselves credit for sometimes if we're willing to lead and actually do that. So I'm glad you're growing in that confidence in that way. From a health perspective and being involved with this, what are either one or a couple of your radical health non-negotiables? Like, what do you really lean on as your big rocks to stay the healthiest version of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the most basic tenet here is just nothing processed. I mean, as much as possible, avoiding that middle section of the grocery store. I'm someone who finds it very easy to eat the same thing every day. But that doesn't mean that it's boring.
Yeah.
I can have any version of red meat, fruit. I do experiment a little bit with sourdough, white rice, things like that. But the food is the first non-negotiable thing. I've never felt better. My stamina has never been better. Sleep's never been better. But besides that, another non-negotiable would be social interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, not locking yourself away. Really, it's very easy here to just have social interaction. I'm almost drained at the end of every workday socially, which is not common. You're normally drained mentally or otherwise, but I've had so much social interaction, and it's so fulfilling to just be in an environment where everyone around you is pursuing that same goal of just being the best version of themselves. But you also just get to have a lot of fun along the way. So I'd just say like good food, good people.
Beautiful. If you were to give one tip to somebody that's listening that is on the precipice of, you know, changing things for their health, what do you think is the one tip that you would give them? Or if you were telling one of your homies that's like, maybe I'm going to try this, what's the biggest tip you'd give them?
The biggest tip, I mean, just one thing at a time, but the thing that's going to make the biggest difference is the thing that you're putting in your cart. And so just take a look at your last grocery order and see where you could swap things out. People like to talk about how eating healthier is so much more expensive than eating the standard American diet, and it is a little bit. It takes a little bit of financial effort, but it's not gonna break the bank. There's ways that you can do it. You don't have to get the best grass-fed cut of meat. You can eat regular, just red meat over whatever else is that has a long-ass ingredient list. That's where I would start, is just looking at the things that you've been eating and just look for little swaps here and there. 6 months down the line, you're going to be a completely different person.
And you'll never regret investing in your health, right? So if you're going to make some changes somewhere, try and financially put it back into your food, because that'll give you your health, and what's worth more than that. 100%. All right, your question, which was left by Kelly, was what is something that people might often get wrong about you or might not know about you?
Might get wrong or might not know about me. I'm going to need a second to think about that.
You can take a second.
Might get wrong or might not know about me. And it could be anything related to the business or... So it's a two-part question. What people might get wrong, but they might not know about me. I'm going to take the second one first. What they might not know about me, everyone who works with me definitely does, but I'm a super big Formula One fan.
Yep.
Love it. I watch every single race. I've got a flag behind my desk at work. I'm always down to talk about that. I could talk about it all day. Something that people might get wrong about me is okay, here's something. For a long time, I had a pretty bad speech impediment, and high school, college, getting up in front of anyone was the worst thing that could possibly happen. I would just stumble over my words, wouldn't be able to get it out. I actually had to give my speech class professor had to give me extra time because I just wouldn't be able to get all the words out. And that comes up every now and then. It doesn't come up as often any longer, but that comes across as me not being confident when it's just a physiological thing that I have dealt with for my entire life. And so that started to affect the way that I thought about myself. Like maybe I'm not confident. And I had to make that mental shift and we do it here whenever I'm presenting something like this. I tell myself in my head, like, I'm not worried about this. I'm actually excited about this.
There you go.
And
Reframe.
it was like a night and day difference. Speech immediately improved. But that still comes up every now and then. That sort of unwillingness to speak up is still kind of stuck with me a little bit because I've got so much that's been in my past and things like that. And it can come across as me being unsure or being not confident. So that's something that I'm actively working to improve there.
Well, I would say you're doing a very good job because if I can't imagine how much work it's taken to be a guy with a speech impediment that can now sit down and rock a little mini podcast. And you did it beautifully, man. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Peace. Miss Taylor, welcome to the hot seat. Tell us who you are, what you do at Heart and Soil.
Hi, my name is Taylor Gensler. I am a social media strategist here at Heart and Soil.
Social media is a very big part of our business. Anybody that watches Radical Health Radio almost certainly follows our page as well. What's it been like being in social media land, but doing it in something that you are also very passionate about? What's that been like?
Yeah, I mean, I've always worked in social media strategy, but kind of doing it for something I'm so passionate about and the way I've been living for the past 4 years, and then also being a content creator myself, it's just kind of been an absolute dream for me. Like I actually feel like I'm making a difference and I'm not selling things that people don't need and I'm like changing people's lives, and it's just been so cool to see like the reception and how strong our community is.
What a time to be alive. Like this is a real job, right?
Yeah,
it's so
it's a real
dope.
job.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
You said you've been living this kind of lifestyle for 4 years. What got you started?
Well, growing up, my mom actually was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 6 years old. So she was only 30, and she always took the holistic approach. So growing up, she was crunchy mom, so no soda, no candy. But then obviously because she has an autoimmune disease, it put me at risk for autoimmune disease. So I did have a lot of health struggles, especially when I moved out of the house and was in college. And then kind of had a health journey during the pandemic. Kind of worked with a naturopath because I was having a lot of brain fog. I had chronic reactive Epstein-Barr and endometriosis. So yeah, a lot of weird health issues. And then through that like questioning of the norms and like learning all these detox protocols, I kind of discovered, Paul and the animal-based lifestyle. And I can proudly say for the past 2 years, I have not had to like go to a doctor or be on antibiotics after like having a Z-Pack every month, every year for most of my life. It's actually crazy.
What was that like mentally to be like at college and like wanting, I'm guessing like, you look forward to that so much, right? College is going to be the best time ever, but then you're having to square the circle with like, God, I feel kind of like garbage. Like what was that time frame like?
I mean, I was a college athlete, so I was doing track and field, and I was the team hypochondriacs. No one believed that I was so fatigued and exhausted. I was constantly injured. I was constantly in the PT room. I had stress fractures on my shins constantly. If I didn't have practice one day, my roommates knew like I would close the door and I'd sleep for 15 hours.
Right.
And I didn't realize like it was the food that I was eating. It was eating seed oils. I didn't even know what a seed oil was.
Right.
And I'm in the dining hall and I'm like, oh, I'll just use that oil in my stir fry. And my coach would encourage us to eat a lot of spinach and vegetables and lay off the carbs. And it was a very detrimental time for my health where I thought I was doing all the right things because that's what was healthy and what the nutritionists were telling us to do. And I think looking back now, I'm like, damn, I wish I knew what I knew now, because
Yeah.
I would have been a beast. Like,
Yeah.
I would have been a crazy athlete, and my career would have been a lot more successful. But I think everything happens for a reason, because I wouldn't be here.
Right,
So.
right. And now you get to share this and hopefully help other people make this mistake. I'm always interested because, like, in your position, like you said, content creator, young woman, you probably have a lot of friends that look to you for, like, advice. Do they think you're a little bit crazy with this lifestyle? Because it is.
Yeah.
It is. Like, I'm guessing, well, like, we normalize it so much because we live it now. But when you revert your mind back and you see you're eating, like, borderline rare steaks and drinking raw milk, you get a lot of questions from friends and on social media and things
Yeah,
like that
I
about, like,
mean,
what the heck you're doing.
When I lived in New York City, I was like, you know, going to the street corner, picking up my raw milk and my meat from the Amish in a van.
Yeah.
And my friends just were like, yeah, she's our meat girl. She's
Yeah.
our weird meat milk girl.
Meat and milk maiden.
Yeah, meat and milk girl. And like, I mean, posting it on social media, I think it's been cool. Obviously, you get a lot of negativity. But there's a lot of people that I would, you know, go to pick up my milk on the corner and they'd be like, I saw your TikTok. And
That's
like,
cool.
I started doing this and I feel so good. And even like I had a journey with like birth control that I was posting about, and I still to this day have girls messaging me on TikTok, like asking me, you know, how do you feel? I'm scared. And I'm like, you just have to like trust yourself and listen to your body. And I know your doctor is going to tell you this is going to be a bad idea, but it literally saved my life, like doing all these things. So yeah, it's just kind of having that crazy confidence and like knowing what works for you. And I mean, it's worked this far, you know?
It is, yeah. What do you encourage people to start? Like if you was having a chat with a girlfriend or somebody came to you on social media and they're just hearing this stuff for the first time and they're kind of like, whoa, okay, this is radical. What's your like entry level? Where do you think they might get the most bang for the buck? What might be the change first?
Yeah, I think, you know, the like cutting out the like fake health foods, the processed foods. I mean, my thing, it's hard to convince people to go off birth control. I think that for women is like a huge controversial topic, but I can proudly say I've probably got like 5 of my friends off of it. And it's, yeah, no, it's really, really amazing. Because then you also become more in touch with your body. And
Right.
I just think finding those things that are triggering you physically and even like emotionally, you start to have that clarity. And like once you're not thinking about, oh my God, I feel so tired. Oh my God, my back hurts. Like my leg hurts. I can't run. Like you can actually live your life.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's like I didn't realize how much I was focusing on myself when I was sick.
Right.
Like I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired and I was so snappy and I couldn't like be a more of a person and like show up for people. And I think once you cut through all that and get those bad feelings out, like that's when you're like, damn, okay, like I'm doing the right path. I'm doing the right things.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What are you currently into, or what are you currently focusing on? I know you've got some things on the calendar. What's Taylor's big focus right now?
Well, I have a half marathon on Sunday,
Okay.
so we'll see how that goes. But non-health side quests, I've been trying to teach myself how to DJ.
Hell yeah.
So got a little deck. I'm really passionate about music, and I think it's like something that I find it's almost like my meditation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like finding my jam, and it's fun to learn new things.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to get that feeling that you had when you were a kid of like, oh, I did something. So it's been really fun to like challenge myself and teach myself that.
Are we going to see any Taylor mixes on Spotify or SoundCloud soon?
I honestly hope so. Like
Heck
I hope
yeah.
I get that good. Like I really want to.
This is a beautiful segue into your question, which was left by Grayson. I think you're the perfect person for this question. He asked something like, what would you say to someone that wants to do this kind of lifestyle? They want to start taking their health and performance more seriously, but they worry that they've got to sacrifice the social aspect of life. Oh, it's not going to be fun anymore, because I think you found a really cool balance there. So how do you approach that, and what would you say?
I mean, I feel like my social life has gotten so much better because I actually feel good.
Right.
Like I know what I like. I know what my body needs, and like, I don't know, you can go out and be social, and if you don't take any judgment about what you're eating and what you're doing, it's not going to matter if you go out into a crowd and you're out with your friends and they offer you a drink. You're like, I'm good. Like you can just be yourself. Right. And I think if anything, it'll make you a better person, and you'll find more people, and your social life will get even better.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Quick fire round.
Okay.
Favorite Heart and Soil supplement?
Ooh, I love Lifeblood.
Lifeblood?
Yeah.
Say more.
Lifeblood as a runner is like the ultimate like superpower. Like if I'm feeling kind of off, I'll take it before I run, and it's so good for recovery. And then as a woman, like just push those up like the week before your cycle. It's
Yeah.
like you don't feel any pain. You feel so good. Your energy levels are just really strong. It's so good. I
Heck
love
yeah.
it.
Favorite cut of steak and how are you ordering it?
Ooh, I love a nice fatty ribeye with like a big garlic butter pat on there. But I do have this like coconut amino maple syrup marinade with
yum.
little garlic salt. I've been doing that, so that might be a contender.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Taylor. You bring a really youthful, energetic, fun DJ-like vibe to the vibe here at Heart and Soil, and we all appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, T.
Last but not least, my Mexico roommate for this week. I've been thinking,
Yes,
we've had
indeed.
some really good conversations. They all should have been podcasts probably, so I'm glad we're making this one official. But tell us who you are and what you do at Heart and Soil.
Absolutely. First, we should probably take it up to the balcony and hop in the pool.
And hop in the pool, of course.
Like we did. But my name is Brian Sutton. I'm the Customer Experience Director with Heart and Soil. And for the most part, just handle things that involve the customers, making sure they're well taken care of, making sure that we're showing up as we say we're going to, and giving the best expression of ourselves to help people then go out and give the best expression of themselves into the world.
Yeah. And one thing, like, I was absolutely blown away when I joined Heart and Soil. The level of care that we give to our customers is, I think, unparalleled. Like a whole team dedicated to answering questions, guiding them, and you're at the helm of managing that amazing group of people that are all living it, breathing it. It's really cool, man. It's a very integral part of what makes Heart and Soil special, I think. But you, as an individual, have a heck of a story. We've covered it, you know, from the travel and also your own health and your kind of coaching and curation background. So do with that what you will. Like, how did you end up here? Like, what was your health journey?
Yeah, it's a big story. So we'll find some highlights in there.
Find some highlights.
Like a lot of folks, I was navigating the world of health. You know, you've got opportunities out there. It's a standard American diet, carnivore approach, vegan, vegetarianism, and everyone in the world has a strong opinion on how and why the best approach is this or that. And that's really challenging, I think, to navigate. And it's challenging for me. It's challenging for our customers. That's why we're designed like we are, to help out. As far as my journey goes, though, I've got a bit of a funny story here. I think it was 2017 or 18, and I went to the doctor and I had some blood drawn. Probably the first time ever. I think I don't know, how many years ago is that? It was probably 32. And the doctor calls me back up a week later or whenever he's got the results, and he leaves me a voicemail to say, "Hey, Brian, I think I'm going to need you to come back in. You've got some high cholesterol, you've got this or that, and I think I need to get you on a statin." And I'm like, I'm 32 years old.
Right.
Pardon my French, there's no fucking way. And from there, I did not call him back. I did not return to be put on a statin. And I figured, well, before I go that route and get some prescription, I just had a general kind of distrust in it. I decided I was going to try some things out. So I got into a really strong yoga practice. I went down the path of trying out vegetarianism, trying out veganism, tried pushing beyond burgers on the family for a Labor Day barbecue.
Let's go.
You want to know how to fail? It is introduce Beyond Burgers at a Labor Day barbecue.
I would have never guessed.
With your mom and dad.
Thank you.
But anyway, so we tried all these things, and I don't really subscribe to the idea that everything happens for a reason. What I do subscribe to is everything happens for an opportunity. And I can either lean in or lean out of that. And I met a lady at a coffee shop in Dunedin, Florida, no less, who needed some help with a website, and I just was doing it on the side. So I started building her website, and in doing so, at the bottom in her resources, Weston A. Price, Mark Sisson, somebody else, and I just decided maybe I should take a look at these.
Yeah.
And so I picked up Mark Sisson's book and started reading through it, and just mind blown at the simplicity of the approach. His whole stitch is kind of take the easy way.
Yeah.
Try easy in this instance. Move a bit, eat plants, eat animals, get outside, try to stay away from poisons. Don't hurt yourself by walking across the parking lot barefoot and stepping on glass. You know, it's a simple approach. You're familiar with it.
Listen to the Sisson, as we say.
Listen to the Sisson. But anyway, I picked up the Primal Blueprint, and I was already feeling a bit better. I was doing all right on the vegan and vegetarian train. It wasn't like it was wrecking me 7 months in. I had I dropped some weight, had tremendous energy, kind of always had tremendous energy, to be fair. But when picking up his book and thinking about how does that compare to what I'm cooking with this vegetarian approach and the trouble I'm going through to make these meals in a good, intentional way. And now Mark's telling me, throw a steak on the grill, have a salad, and stay away from some seed oils and go for a walk.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't want to go to the gym because you don't like weights, go paddleboard.
Yeah.
And that resonated so deeply into my core that I just shifted gears, fast forward, and I've been living that way or this way since then.
Yeah.
And it really, I think, has set me up for success so that I don't have to worry all that much about my health. So I think about it because I want to make good decisions whenever I'm living, and I want to be able to share really great information with people and encourage them to take steps that benefit them. But I don't have to think that much about it because it's now so ingrained to take this simple animal-based approach, which plays on Sisson's stuff. And what that allows me to do in my life is show up for you, show up for my team. And if we build a foundation together where we're all showing up for each other and doing so in a way that almost mitigates challenge and mitigates obstacles and speed bumps, then how amazing is it that we now get to go show up for the people we interact with, whether that's our customers or friends or family. We get to show up and hit home runs all the time for other people. And we get to do that because of this strong foundation that we have. And I think that's rooted in our individual ability to not have to think so much about the health and wellness side of it whenever we're just living day to day.
It's beautiful, man. The old simple scales and fancy fails.
There it
Apply
is.
it to anything you want. There's probably a lot of wisdom in that. Speaking of wisdom, I think you've got a lot in there. From a lifestyle perspective, this thing, maybe it is the simplicity, but what's maybe like your one core piece of advice or philosophy of this lifestyle, I guess, that you would like to impart on someone that's maybe newish to it or just thinking about getting stuck in?
For sure. There's lots of them. If we're going gold nuggets, though, I've actually already said it. Try easy.
Try the easy route. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean don't do the challenging thing.
Right.
It means where you have opportunity to introduce and invite simplicity and ease, do it. And do that so that where there are areas you have genuine interests and you really want to forge forward and you want to invite difficulty, then do that. And you can get challenge from many areas in life.
Yeah.
Invite challenge in areas where you have a deep interest and therefore you have good motivation and you can create good discipline to achieve them. And then invite easy in other areas.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't need to make life harder than it needs to be. And if you do the easy, natural things well, then you can choose your hard mindfully.
100%.
Speaking of, you said choose your hard with the things that you're either interested in or challenging in. What currently interests you?
Yeah, great question. I'm currently trying to pick up more novels.
Novels,
You know?
yeah.
I've always dabbled to some extent in research-based books and really, just factual expressions of learning and knowledge consumption and I can get my brain bigger and smarter. And something really interesting happened when doing that, which has got me on this novel approach now. And it's really that the words in a book, every word in there has been spelled out. And if we think about what is a spell, and some people can cast a spell, some people think spellbound is the thing. And if you're reading a book and it might be so dogmatic, but you're going through it with the intention of learning what is there, you want to share what you learn, you want to express what you learn, it can very easily consume you and turn you into this, or I should say not you, it can turn me into this person that I might not want to be.
Yeah.
And with that, I may show up at the party as the asshole who has all this new information to share, but I alienate myself or I alienate others. And it really, it invites friction in where maybe it's not necessary with friends and family, coworkers. So pursuing the novel and really thinking through from a creative perspective how some of these authors generate these stories.
Yeah, it's cool.
How they create the drama, and then thinking about how do I express and create things if I'm not painting a portrait or writing a book. I've got my own versions of creativity and expression that kind of diving into and exploring.
So good, man. Yeah, I think I had to go through that same compression phase of over-intellectualizing, mentally masturbating to be the smartest guy in the coffee shop to realize what's all that for, just have more fun, relax a little bit, pick up a novel. We've talked about, I'm going to get you on the Red Rising series.
7 books I saw.
That Red Rising series, fam. Unbelievable books. So more novels. That's a novel approach, as you said.
A novel approach.
All right, last question of the day, left by Taylor. If you could be any animal for a day, what animal would Brian be?
Some type of, what's the character in The Lion King, Rafiki?
Rafiki.
Is he a baboon?
Yeah, he's the baboon with the stick, the wise baboon.
That is me.
That's on brand, the wise baboon.
The wise baboon. On my wall, I've got a psychedelic painting of a Rafiki type character that, if I'm ever tracking away from who I want to be at my core, which is playful, colorful, willing to share, but not always filling space with noise just to talk. I take a moment, I stare at that, and maybe have like an open-eyed meditation just to reconnect with like what I genuinely want to show up as.
Yeah, I think I might start calling you Rafiki from now on. It's very on brand. Here's one, because we would now ask you to give a question to the next person, but you are the last person. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and say, what question would you ask our audience to think about?
Absolutely. I want to raise the ante a little bit. If the audience responds in the comments of YouTube,
let's go.
We are going to go through there and pick out a few, and we're introducing this new concept over the next few months where we really want to surprise and delight some people. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be fantastic. And it's going to be better than other things that we give away. It's not going to be just a bottle of supplements. We're going to have some fun here. So with the audience, if you drop something in the comments, or even if you email us with the response to this, pick your poison. I think what we really want to learn about is how can what we're doing at Heart and Soil be elevated to support you better? What can we provide you so that you feel like you've got a partner in this journey? You've got someone to help hold your hand while you navigate it. You've got someone to lean on as you pursue whatever it is you're looking to get out of life. And I mean that, not just health, out of life. Let us know how we can level up our game to add value to you.
Beautiful. You heard it, folks. That's our resident wise monkey. Get in those comments. Let us know. Surprise is inbound. Peace. Well done, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.